Hello. Yesterday, after I posted these pictures online, I received comments from some of my junior colleagues asking how I did these images. So, this video is about to explaining what I did back in the studio. I actually didn't record the behind the scene of what I did in the studio, but right here on the system, I'll be using the Facial Studio to explain what I actually did. And after that, I'll also take us through the editing process, the things I did to result to this particular image that you are seeing on your screen. So please follow us, and if you are new to this channel, please kindly follow us and make sure that you put on your notification button so that each time we post new videos, you will always be the first to get notified. So without wasting much of your time, let's quickly delve into what we are here to do today. See you at the other hand. Welcome to my virtual studio using Set Elite 3D version 2.0. So in this studio, we will be able to demonstrate what we did physically here virtually, or you can first do it virtually here, then take it back to the studio where you'll be able to do it physically. So practically, this is what I did while shooting that particular image. So my model was placed in front of a large umbrella, but the only difference here is that I used a curtain to cover the like a background. I use the curtain in between the light and the model, so you can see here. So I use the curtain, so the umbrella is actually behind the curtain that she's standing on. You can see, so the light is behind, but on the virtual studio here, I'm not able to put the curtain there, but you can see it in the real picture. So the light was placed behind, then a curtain which overflowed down here where she's now standing. She's standing on the clothes. I actually use that as the background sort of. So the light is beaming from behind the curtain. So, and you can see the replica, and my camera setting for that particular image was let me look for it. Okay, so this is the camera setting. So it was actually shot on a Canon 60D, and my aperture was f14, shutter speed was 1/200 of a second, and ISO was 100. So these are the parameters, and the same parameter are the parameters I entered in my Facial Studio here. You can see f14, ISO 100, and then shutter speed 1/200, and the color temperature is at 5200. I don't know if that was shown in the properties here. Let me check. Was that shown here? No, it's not. So it wasn't shown in the property here. So that is what I actually did. So, and you can see the resemblance of the picture. So what I actually wanted to achieve with this was to create a silhouette image. That means to have a shadowish image in front of a bright background, and that is exactly what I did. So the simplest way to achieve this is to place the light right behind the subject, or the model. Then take up your shutter speed as high as possible and your aperture as well as high as possible, while keeping your ISO as low as possible. Those are just the three parameters you need to make sure you followed. Put the light behind the model and set your camera settings to something very high that can give you absolute black image over that bright background. So that is exactly what I did to give us this image. So within the studio, you can easily replicate this. You don't actually need much light. You only need one light to do this, and you can use it on an umbrella. Then beam it right behind the model, and that is it. You have your result. You have a perfect result. That is exactly what I did here in the studio. So, having shown you what I did in the studio now, I will take you through to how I edited it to actually result into this particular uh, picture that you are talking about. This is what the image looked like when I brought it to Photoshop. So the first thing I did here was to duplicate the image so as to preserve the original image, so I can always have something to reference whenever I need to check the before and the after. So I duplicated the layer, and here I have the layer as layer O here, so you cannot really see the difference. So, and after that, because the picture was shot at ratio 2 by 3, so I wanted to change it to ratio 4 by 5. So I did cropping. I click crop here, then I change my ratio to 4 by 5 ratio, which is 8 by 10 ratio as well. So, and then I move it outside the frame of the picture. So that is why you have these empty spaces. So after I did that cropping to that ratio, the next thing I did was to fill these empty layers. So how I did that was by selecting the empty layers, something like this, selecting the empty layers here that I wanted to fill. I selected them like that, and I came here under edit, and then I did content aware field. Content aware field. So that's what I did there. After I did the content aware field, so the result was this one. This is the result. And after this, I did some little patching. I did some little patching by moving some pixels around here to something more smooth around the images around here. So after the patching, then I moved on to, I duplicated the layer again. Then I moved to liquefying. I liquefied the image by smoothing all the wrinkles you have here. So to go to liquefy, just click on the layer, then select filter, and then liquefy. Allow it to load and come up. So in the liquefying space here, to liquefy in the space here, it actually took me about 15 minutes to complete this particular picture. I moved the pixels by smoothing the hand, the wrinkles on the clothes, so that it actually look like a real skin. So I took time to do this. I restructured that area, then bump up the bust a little bit, then tightening the waist a little bit. You can see. So, and here I took out the bum a little. Here as well, not something so big, so to make it look entirely different from the original image, but just to give it the look I really want it to have. So, and so you just have to take time smoothing all that, and removing all the wrinkles, and restructuring the image. So you just have to take your time to do that. So that is basically what I did in the liquefying stage to liquefy it. So I'm going to click cancel there, and so if you check my before with the after, this was my before, and this was after the liquefying. So this was after I liquefied the picture, and you can see the difference. So, and after that, I duplicated the layer again so that I don't have to tamper with the liquefied layer. Then I want something smooth as the background. I want to smoothen the background, so I created a new layer here. And then pick a color very close to the white color here, it actually gives me this. So, and I pasted it on this layer. I had some layer mask, I had layer mask to it, and after the layer mask I added gradient fill. I had some gradient fill at about 32% or 50. I can't really remember, so I had it here so that it will be revealing what's inside, what's beneath the image, because I want it to, I want the model to still be standing on the original background. So I put that one off again. Then I selected the image on this particular one, so you can actually use any of the selection tools that you prefer. So select the image out, and after doing that, this is what I have. So I have this, you can see I put it on the new, on the layer mask, so that if I need to adjust anything I can easily adjust it. The images and the background is hidden here, and while revealing the image. So after that, so now we can now reveal the background I created. Now I created this background. Now you can see what it looks like, but I want a kind of round light to reflect like the original picture that we have here. So to do that, I created a ball of light behind her like this, so you can see. So it was after I arrived at this that I just thought of, okay, I could take the picture further. This was actually the initial thoughts when I was editing the picture, but after I did this, I felt like I could experiment and do something over it again. So the first thing I did was to add some pigment, over the image, and how I did that was to create a solid color layer. I selected black color, I added it, and then I create a layer mask over it, and I used my gradient fill, the radial gradient fill, and then I bobbed it out and to refill this color. So, and after that, I selected my um, arch color here, just to fill the inside, so that it won't be bright, really bright in the inside. And after I arrived at this, I thought of taking it further again. So I just was experimenting, and I arrived at this. I added this curve layer. I added the curve layer, and in the curve layer, I tweaked the, because I wanted to make the edges black. So I want it to be somehow really black. So I moved the slider from the white edge here down to the shadow area. So I move it down to the shadow area, and after that it gives me this something similar to this, and I moved from RGB to red. I adjusted the red down a bit, and I have this nice red around it. Let me quickly put this one off and do another one so that you can see what I'm adjusting. Curves. So create curves, and in my curves here, so I selected this, I moved it down here, and then you can see. So that is what I did. So you can see. Move this like this. So it gives me something like this, and then I moved to my red. I pulled down the red, and it was giving me this nice color, and I moved to my green, pull it down, you can see, and it was giving me this, and to my blue as well. I think I dropped it or something. So yeah, so this is what I actually did. So this is what I played around with to arrive at that particular image. So you can see how it's giving us different looks. And after I did that, let me put that one off now, put this one on. So after I add that, I felt that the color is too strong because I actually want it a little bit cool. So I added the hue and saturation level, use hue and saturation. Then um, I reduced the saturation to about minus 42, then the lightness as well, and I changed the hue to minus 11. And this is the actual image that you guys saw that you asked me to make the behind the scene by explaining what I actually did to arrive at this. And I hope this tutorial has helped you to understand what I did behind the scene to arrive at this particular image. If you have found value for this tutorial, please kindly click on the subscribe button and ensure that you always put on your notification so that you always get notified each time I post new videos. Thank you and remain blessed.